Just a lot tonight through the day, but I burn my time and watch it fade away. The sky turns up, the light just goes opaque. A garden grows in time and not the other.
Welcome back to... I finally figured it out. We're on episode 3 of Afternoon Glory. When this idea started, it was like a podcast that doesn't exist. I'll just do clips. Who knows? Maybe I ended up doing that. And also the idea of this, I guess let's just jump right into it. I feel like that's how every episode starts, is me trying to back up the podcast as much as I can. Yeah, I really shouldn't. I think at the end of the day, I do want to do this, but I don't want to do the work. What's it take to just, sell out at any given moment? But you got to be an original idea, I suppose, which I'm not. I've been told many times, Josh, knock the whole Daniel Tosh thing off and be your own person. Whatever, that's their opinion, right? Last episode was black and white. I couldn't do it. I had it all edited because of some dental hygiene issues. Hyper aware, also very, very, very big irrational fear of the dentist. As a kid, I went to a very careless dentist. You know how like in TV, the flashback's always scarier and exaggerated? That's about what although just looking back, it still feels like that. You can't convince me otherwise. My last dentist, this is going to be gross. I had a whopping TMI 12 cavities and some work that needed to be done. I got 8 of those cavities filled. He prescribed me a pill that chilled me out, a chill pill, three or 4 pills. I didn't get the last 4 filled, so I'm sorry. He gave me a chill pill to be filled. Go ahead and add that one to your catalog, date rapist. Oh, hopefully at the end of this video there's some outro music. I think I was gonna tweedle with the intro. I don't know. I'm not married to it. Mainly because I used the music in my last failed project. A lot of failed projects on the agenda. But as I was saying, what's it take to just sell out? Have somebody like Portnoy just say, get on my payroll. It's the dream. You gotta be original, I hear. I think I might start most episodes with, other than the fragile, underwhelming podcast specs that everybody... Is that what's specs? Specifics? When cars are like, what are the specs? When you're searching a car, selling a car, they're like, what are the specs? Maybe instead of giving specs of this obviously underwhelming podcast, I can't emphasize that enough, I should start it out with this last episode. I said somebody asked what the podcast was about. Couldn't tell you. Gun to my head. Still couldn't tell you. Maybe since I'm trying so hard to be Daniel Tosh, I'll take a page out of his book. I'll post, in your own words, what is Afternoon Glory about? And we'll I'll take the best tweets to give the summary, and then we'll just slap that on to my podcast host, which if you're in the biz, oftentimes you upload one single file and that shoots it out to all the rest, except Apple. No, it still shoots it out to Apple, but you gotta fucking sign up separately with them, pay $20 a year. But I think it'd be wise to start the podcast out with because I said it was a hodgepodge of here's the scenarios, me bitching and moaning because I'm spineless on between me and you on the camera, or if you're listening to the audio. This is how I should have reacted to many situations, but didn't, which often is like stand-up comedy. So maybe I'm onto something. Probably not. I have nothing to talk about. I'm not a happening guy. Maybe I'll start out if I can come up with one. So here's the scenario. One of my favorite meet cutes, student-teacher relationship. And oftentimes when we hear that hyphenated phrase or word, I guess. No, it's got to be a phrase, right? Well, there are student teachers. Remember those guys? This is how much older I am than Nova. I think I've said this on the old podcast. Somebody I went to high school with who was 2 classes above me. Somebody I went to high school with and know. Like I mean, I obviously know him because I'm rattling off about him. And I assume if he heard my name, I'm his Facebook friend. I hope he'd remember. He was Nova's teacher. So he went through college somehow. It doesn't make sense, right? Unless he took a bunch of He got a bunch of college credit those last 2 years that I was in school with him. And he ended up being, I thought he was legit a teacher, but he's student taught there. But I couldn't rack my head around that one for a long time. Because it's like freshman year of college, I would say now we're in college, he's still 2 years, unless he had the college credits. Those kids just stressed me the hell out. So I just felt like I feel like an idiot in a room full of just fucking people that just barely fucking got their GED. Like, you would think, oh, I have a high school diploma, blah blah blah, and you tell me I'm in a room full of kids, I guess adults that got their GED. I was, one, the information is probably fresher in their head. Two, it's just I'm not smart. Most people would say I am smarter than I can do this. I can hold my own. I very, very few people. I'm like, I am definitely smarter than you. When you hear that, it sounds naughty, like you think of the worst thing, but it can be positive. It can just be a casual, no sin. I can't even. So that's how stupid. I can't even know. What's the word I'm looking for? No out of the ordinary acts of mischief going on. It's just a regular relationship with a student, or with a teacher to their students. I think that's a better way to say it. Teaching them the lesson in an average way. Maybe it's the morning after having very affordable liquor on your breath still, or you're hungover at least. Is that what being a teacher is? Is that why they're saying we're not paid enough? Because we can't get enough affordable liquor? Teachers aren't alcoholics, I don't think. Most of them. I'd like to, let me try to see if I can pull up a stat. Only 7% of teachers are alcoholics. That's a number I can deal with. I don't know. I think conservatives get real concerned what their children are learning in public school. And it's getting worse, probably. I don't know. I see on Reddit a bunch of teachers with a get out while you still can post. It's kind of sad. So conservatives, I think, are getting nervous as time goes on. Things got to be so politically correct, I suppose. That's fine. I can deal with that. But they fear those are going to be like it's going to be on the final exam, and it's like they're intertwining it with the curriculum. I can't vouch. I don't know if that's going on or not. I'm not in the public schools. If that's the case, conservatives, you better hope your children are being taught by the top 7% of alcoholic teachers. That way they'll be too hungover to call your student the correct pronoun or something. That seemed hacky. I think I was on to something, but I think pronoun is such a common. Oh shit, I forgot to mention this. Hello.
Hey, they said they're here to pick up.
Okay, I'll be right down. Sorry, I meant to put that as a disclaimer. I was on call waiting for these guys. Nova made a return on a rug. They said they're going to be picking up anywhere between 2 to 4 at 6:21. They just kept pushing it back. Thankfully, it wasn't it wasn't disrupting a groundbreaking, profound thought. A fucking low-hanging fruit pronouns comment. Anyways, I used to want to be a teacher. I would always make the stupid little joke. Speaking of hack jokes, I'll lead you with another one. I used to make the joke like, "Oh, you're gonna be a teacher?" Yeah. I was like, but maybe I might lean towards professor. That way you get a longer leash with the students, if you know what I'm saying. Which goes back to here's the scenario: student-teacher relationships. That's a sticky situation. My guess is when it's an improper relationship, it's probably the top 7% of alcoholic teachers. I keep saying top percent, but it's just 7% out of 100. But yeah, the top percent just sounds funny. I guess now with kids having phones, it makes sense. But how did it happen in like the 80s? Was it in the classroom? Did the teacher give the student a ride, invite them over? I don't know. I honestly don't give a shit. I feel like it's useless to know. Am I going to be standing in a foyer and I'm going to say, hey, did you know in the 80s kids and teachers didn't have that much access to cell phones? They either fucked in the classroom or gave the student a ride home and fucked it there. I don't know. Well, what's that gonna do me? I think that's rewarding to know. There's some people that can't rack their heads around shit, and they have to know. And at some point, I just don't care to know. I think it's a blessing and a curse. I do very minimal research. Sometimes puts my foot in my mouth. There was a rumor at my high school, just hearsay, this teacher, that he married one of his former students. And I got to know this teacher fairly well. Let me just say, when I saw his wife, she looked older than him. So that was debunked. I told people that. And the rumor's still floating around. It's like, I don't know. People, then again, it's the least reliable people constantly saying fucking high school kids are so goddamn ornery. I'm glad I didn't take part in that. Sure, I got in school detention for cyberbullying, and sure I mouthed off. I had in school detention my senior year and my freshman year, sophomore, junior year in the clear. Freshman year, I told somebody to fuck off. I thought that was just so angsty. And I fell into peer pressure cyberbullying senior year. Told somebody to retake their ACT test. They got to score 2 points lower than me. So stupid. That's how dumb. And I thought I was one of the smart ones. Anyways, that teacher didn't have a sexual relation, or not. He didn't marry one of his students. No, it was a middle-aged woman. Kind of disappointing. But, when you become an adult, you learn, yeah, he made the right decision. And then there's a real case of a teacher diddling students. Now, I've wanted to get this off my chest for a long time. He didn't diddle me. I was going to turn it into a comedy bit. Still, lately I've been gravitating towards, more short, stuff I already know. Very minimal fat I got to trim. And I'd like to get to this point, but, you got to crawl before you can walk. I remember, just all the students turning against him and testifying against him, and that's fine. Justice needs to be served. But I remember thinking at 16, 17, however old I was, that I am not going to say a word. There was inappropriate things out of his mouth. The reports say cup checking. You go up to your pals and you cup check. It wasn't fun. So just inappropriate behavior. And these students testified against him. But I was like, I'm not going to do that, because if he ever gets out on parole, who's saying he's not going to fucking kill you, has nothing left to lose? And there's a student, a co-student, a classmate. And then there was a classmate, been out of the game for a while. And there's a classmate saying he's testifying for him. That was just weird. Maybe by definition I was abused. There's inappropriate words out of his mouth. You can tell that I'm fucking terrified to quote, because I don't want to be on that hit list when he gets parole or something, if he gets parole. Very inappropriate things said amongst many. And I felt like a lot of people were curious to what he had to say, which is definitely a drawback if you're the cool teacher. Yeah, I remember one time he said something very inappropriate. He said, "You're probably a closeted bisexual." My first instinct was in my head was, oh, fuck, this guy's good. And then my second instinct and thought was, how the fuck are you going to say that to a student? Yeah, I often think about his cats. He had 2 cats. They're probably dead now. Okay, now that we finally marched through the long twist, that's the thing. Here's the scenario, and it's like, oh, well, I talk a lot, I diverge a lot, and that's what happened with that. But it filled some time. Maybe the podcast will be welcome back to Afternoon Glory, and then maybe give some just loosen up, which is actually super easy by yourself. Here's the scenario, and then we'll just go into gripe of the week, stuff that I've been doing, and then hopefully towards the end, the hotline, which I think any time I've ever talked about the hotline is not an official episode. I will introduce that in a few. I've been on a real Phase 10 kick lately. I just played that game for the first time in 8, 9, 10 years. Also been on a big donut kick lately. I never really cared for donuts. I always thought they were kind of too sweet. And then just the ones that are readily available at the grocery store just never compare. But speaking of, we got some, how do you pronounce it? Etmans? I don't know. I had one with coffee. I was like, oh my God, the pairing was, it was so good. I just kept eating, taking a drink, eating, taking a drink. I took a bite and then took a drink of the coffee. I didn't like that one that much, but eating, taking a drink, it was very good. I got a donut in the fridge from Stan's Donuts, which I love. It might be overhyped in Chicago, but I love it. Nova's cousin introduced us to Do Right Donuts. They got a little more exotic flavors, like to my Colorado Springs folk, like Amy's Donuts, which is ultimately the same donut, just with either Fruity Pebbles on it or Reese's peanut butter cups on it. Tell me I'm wrong, Colorado Springs. And then the actual donut doesn't taste that bad, so it's almost like an extra treat, I guess. But Stan's Donut, big old Stan's. That was the first donut shop I ate at. Stan's has a special place in my heart. The only thing I don't like about it, a lot of Stan's in Chicago, but it was a chef, a pastry chef, I believe, had a business partner with a guy named Stan Berman, I think. He had a Stan's Donuts in L.A., so the name is from L.A. Formula, I think, is from here. So that guy, that kind of doesn't sit right with me. And I researched it. Do Right Donut, Chicago through and through. So Do Right gets some points to that. And also, speaking of Chicago, I went to the Chicago History Museum today. I don't know why I've been blowing off all these touristy spots. It's not like I know the city like the back of my hand. So I went to Chicago History Museum. They're like, "Where are you visiting from?" And I really lingered on that question. I just froze. I was like, Chicago, I guess. Will I get more information if I say I'm from Colorado? So I just said Chicago. Moved here in July though. And he's like, "What's your zip code?" I rattled that bad boy off like my life depended on it. 60625. Yeah, today's free for Chicago residents. I was like, hell yeah. There's a film I really wanted to see. I thought it was going to be like, oh, at this intersection, Al Capone fucked this guy up, or this is where Al Capone caught syphilis. I really thought it was going to be Al Capone heavy. No, I'm kidding. But I really thought it was going to be like parts of the city where shit happened, I guess. Shit noteworthy. And it was just basic shit that I already knew. It's supposed to be this babysitter taking... like a 16-year-old babysitter taking this, like, I don't know, 8-9-year-old kid around in their travel, jumping through Chicago history. And when the Sox won the World Series in 1906, that was the Sox, right? I guess I can look it up. I'm not going to look it up. It was one of the two. Won the World Series in 1906. And it just shows people in an apartment. I think they were listening to the radio, and then it was like the next one. And there's a window and you can see some of the Chicago skyline, and then they're like 1985 the Bears win, and it was silly. I really didn't care for it. As soon as it started, I said fuck. It was 27 minutes. It's like we could have just actually been reading shit. And then we get linked up with a curator doing, is that the right word, or tour guide? We get linked up with a tour guide. The first exhibit she takes us, she's like, "I'm not actually allowed to take you through here." And we're like, whoa. I thought we were going to go like to see some archives and shit, but it was an exhibit that she's like, check it out if you want after the tour. Basically, it was just about how there's like indigenous people and it's misleading information. It's not correct. And I was like, then why the fuck can't you guys change it? Yeah, that's my first question. Like, is it old paintings or reenactment photos? I can see that. Like, they're old photos that have some age. I'm not gonna say historic value, and they're in there, but like, what about the descriptions? Can't you like throw in your 2 cents or whatever? What like to make it right? I wish I would have gone back there, but as she's saying this, somebody else that's not in the tour goes and hits a button, and she's like saying it's misleading. It's not very accountable, and it's just this fucking like Hoya 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 music playing, and I literally, like, when you start to laugh, like I can't even do it, just that unaware laugh, and your lips start to move. My lip did one move, and then her eyes, I could see, were coming back towards me, and I had to hold it shut. That was the funniest fucking thing I've seen in a long time. Just fucking inappropriate. It's just classic. That's naughty, and I shouldn't be laughing, but I am. Isolated incident, folks. So that was fun. We were so full of Chicago history. Nova and I got Chicago dogs for lunch. That was a real treat. I guess I should be wrapping soon. The gripe of the week is it's just nothing personal in my life that happened, but in the NBA, there's a picture of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Picture going around the internet, scanning like maybe from the jumbotron a QR code for free wings. That's just so quirky of him. And then I hate when like Bleacher Report or other sports media, and then they're like saying Giannis is scanning the QR code for free wings, laughing face emoji. That I get an eye roll emoji every time when somebody, I don't know, I rather say LMAO or LOL. I don't, the laughing face emoji is very, it's not, I don't know, very, I have no, I do use it, of course. Sometimes I use it with strangers, but if you're sports media, I guess you're just trying to be relatable. I just didn't like it on both ends. People, quote unquote, I guess not quote unquote, posting about it, and then Giannis, fucking superstar in the NBA, just trying to be a funny, regular guy, grounded to reality. And sure, there's people like that. Kawhi Leonard, very... He's definitely, that's a guy you gotta look up to and appreciate. He's not trying to be the fucking class clown. Giannis knew that was gonna be a fucking post. That's my gripe of the week. Trying a new segment, because I say I'm spineless all the time. New segment called an Act of Spineless, play off an act of kindness. I'm almost dead broke, guys. So like and subscribe, share. Let's get this thing monetized very, very quickly. If you know somebody like Dave Portnoy with influence or investment, and I'm their cup of tea. If you want great value, Daniel Tosh, you hit up Josh. That's funny. It's funny because I hate it. And not because I'm like, oh my god, that rhymed, it was so good. No, it's funny because I fucking hate it. Can I be myself? I don't know. But I'm almost dead broke, guys. I work, it's slow. It's January, February. Sometimes I'm getting called off work. Sometimes I'm getting messages like, who wants the night off? We have too many servers. That's fine. I'm at work, and then they're like making the rounds, who wants to go home? And I said... Because often I never get cut on time for work. It's actually I'm so flustered by it. Never get cut on time. I'm always there an hour after my finish time. That's fine. And I said, oh, I'll go if nobody else goes. And nobody else wanted to go, and I couldn't stand my ground. I'm like, no, I want to be here. I want to make money. I want to be able to pay rent and get a donut on my day off or whenever you call me off. Did not have the courage to say... no, I need to stay, or when the verdict came in, I was like, I need money. Can I just stay? Isn't that a oxymoron? I said this podcast is about me saying what I should have said. Maybe I might scrap the act of spineless, or maybe it's just an inside glimpse. I don't know. But it's like, oh, this is what I should have said in real life. And that's why I use this podcast and stand-up comedy. But here I am admitting what actually happened. I don't know. All right, so the hotline, guys, if you haven't already, which nobody has, and text or call area code 719-507-2006. Again, that's area code 719-507-2006. Call or text. I will not call back. I will not text back. And that's only if you want to be on the show, on a clip of it, featured on the show, and a clip on the internet. And I'll get those posted whenever they start flooding in at any second now. People are always worried. Maybe it's famous people. People are always worried. Don't post my number on the internet. This is the same number I had with Half Completed Thoughts when I had the original name of this podcast, a podcast that doesn't exist at all. I posted that on that social. Nobody calls. If you're nobody, you shouldn't ever fear posting. Nobody's going to do a goddamn thing about it. But I hope you guys have a change of heart. Comments, questions, concerns, hate mail even. If you just want to say hi, if you just want to say, Josh, fuck Stan's Donuts, here's a good donuts place, I'll take it. I would love it, especially my Chicago friends, or I don't want, the only other person I can think that would listen in Chicago is my friend Robert. So go ahead and throw me a bone, and I'll throw it right back. Get you. Of course, if you want to remain anonymous, I'm not going to post your number. If you want to be known, make sure you let it be known that you want to be known. Go ahead and help the channel grow. Follow the podcast on social media. That's where you'll see the clips. Yeah, I guess that's it, guys. I feel good about the here's the scenario thing, but I feel like it did tangent a lot. Maybe that's good. Maybe I feel weird about the rest, like the gripe of the week. I went to the Chicago History Museum. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe I should start the show. I don't know. I think here's the scenario is going to be a big part of it. I don't know. A lot of I don't knows. All right, guys. I will see you. Oh, yeah. Last thing. I want to get this on a regular schedule. I'd like to, especially because by the time that this video is actually published or the clip comes out, it's going to be old news that Giannis was. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fucking stack up some clips, post three a day. I'm trying to have like a bank of it essentially. That way I don't have to scramble or hit any deadlines, and I can just keep posting those while simultaneously being current. So I might, when these videos come out, between 4 to 6 might come out all at once, and then I hope that next week it's as current as, I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. Maybe that's what the show's about, just me talking to myself, justifying everything. I'm getting out of here. I got this hat in Mexico, by the way. I wanted to bring that up. Good hat. Authentic Mexican hat. Playa del Carmen. I've said this before. I got bit by a cat in Mexico. I had to go see a shaman. All right. Thank you, guys. See you next week. Or, fuck it. You guys have yourself a ball.
Then I think you should leave.